The 23 fantasy football season is over, is in the books. We are done. It has been a wild ass year from start to finish. The rookie draft process, the summertime scouting, the coach speak going into the season, the litany of injuries that we had to overcome, the players sitting out, contract disputes, underperforming players, and some new emerging stars have emerged from the 23 fantasy season. And if you've been tapped in the Destination Devy from start to finish, well, then you rolling in the dough, in the damn money in 24. And what a better way to start the new year than winning for pride, winning for bragging rights, and taking home that cash. So I appreciate you tapping in from start to finish. If DD has helped you win a fantasy championship, comment down below, like, subscribe, share it. We got a lot to talk about. Players that perform well, players that didn't, what to think moving forward. Some things that we may have learned from this fantasy season. Let's get it.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
All right, so let's talk about it, right? Fantasy season is over. What do we do? Where do we go? What are the takeaways? What players did well that we need to stay on for next season, and which ones may falter off a tad bit? So normally, y'all know, we do the wake-up show on Monday mornings, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been the break. It's holidays. It was out late. We'll get back on schedule next week, but let's just dive right into it and talk about it and kind of work our way through some of the games, through some of the players, and some takeaways and things that we've learned this season. And let's kick this off with the Thursday night game between the Jets and the Browns. We saw Joe Flacco go out there and do his damn thing versus the Jets in a matchup where a lot of people were real concerned about Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns. No Amari Cooper in that matchup, and Joe Flacco just went out there. You see it right there, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. You look at him on the week, Joe Flacco was a top 5 quarterback, 22.6 fantasy points, and he did this off of the street. He's been in the building for about a month and a half and has played such good football. It's got us thinking about Joe Flacco on another team. I've been talking about the Atlanta Falcons for a year, but what do you make of this situation in Cleveland where Flacco has done more in the past 5 weeks than Kenny Pickett has done his entire career? Joe Flacco, 13 touchdown passes in December. Kenny Pickett, 13 total touchdown passes, period, which is absolutely insane. Joe Flacco, 38, 39 years old. And this isn't the type of cat that's going to be a franchise changer, that's going to be on your roster long term. But in a 1-year sample size, you might have found some free money with Joe Flacco, who seems to be poised to make a deep run with a very good Cleveland Browns team. He's going to be one that I'm monitoring moving forward and just seeing, does he land in a spot where he can be a bridge type quarterback for a year or two for a team that's got weapons, that's ready to win, but is devoid of a quarterback. So Joe Flacco, I think there is some value moving forward. We'll see what he wants to do. Maybe he just wants to get off the couch, scratch an itch for a couple of weeks, and once this is over, it's done. But Joe Flacco, somebody I'm definitely keeping on the radar moving forward into 2024. Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, this running back room, you know, they were fine. They were fine, but I don't think Jerome Ford has done enough to warrant any sort of he's the incumbent starter. Remember, they do got a guy by the name of Nicholas Chubb that's pretty damn good as well. Tore his knee up, but all accounts, he's on track to be ready for next season. So it's going to be an interesting situation to watch. And how does the David Njoku, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, and the stud Amari Cooper, how do they gel with Deshaun Watson coming back? You know, we've been talking about it, and Joe Flacco has looked like the best quarterback that's been in the Cleveland Browns uniform since rookie year Baker Mayfield. Now, the Browns have so much money tied up into Deshaun Watson. Don't get it twisted. He is going to be the starting quarterback next year. But this is why I continue to say I don't know if he's just locked and loaded, playing out that contract in Cleveland as the guaranteed bona fide starter. You're seeing a guy that comes off the street, 38, 39 years old, is playing better football than Watson has during his time in Cleveland. So this is a roster where David Njoku, wherever we thought about him coming into the season, he has elevated his game to being a top 5 dynasty tight end right now. We'll get to the Kansas City Chiefs and Travis Kelce a little bit later, but I do believe that David Njoku, from this game, from this team, that's the asset, especially the scarcity and the positional value and advantage you get with tight end. If you've got Njoku, be happy, be grateful. If you're trying to trade for him, I don't know what you can give up, but maybe there are some ADV, or a little term that we've coined over here at Destination Devy, artificial dynasty value. Maybe there are a couple of those tight ends. Can you trade a Dalton Kincaid and get a David Njoku? If there's a way to package something like that up, that would be a move that I'm trying to make. David Njoku on the season, monster year, big-time performance for him, 81 receptions, 882 yards, and 6 touchdowns, and has been an absolute monster down the stretch. On the other side of the ball, when you're looking at the New York Jets, hey, we all know, no Aaron Rodgers, so this was bound to look a lot different in 23. I mean, he was hurt the 4th play of the game for the Jets, but despite that, Breece Hall came on strong down the end. We saw him get more involved in the receiving game, looking like a David Johnson 2.0 clone. Garrett Wilson, he was just steady Eddie, like 5 receptions, 50 yards every week, and all you can think about is, man, if they had an Aaron Rodgers, how much better this team would be. I don't know if there's any long-term value with Israel Abanikanda. Liked him coming out during the rookie draft process, but buried behind Breece Hall, just don't think there's a lot of dynasty value for him moving forward. And one of the biggest takeaways from this team is the need for another pass catcher, whether that be an elite tight end, whether that be another wide receiver opposite Garrett Wilson. It's not going to impact G-Dub at all, but they need somebody else to take some pressure off of Wilson. Rodgers already said he's coming back and wants to play more than one season. So should be wheels up for the New York Jets in 2024. Very much interested in the same cats that we all know, Breece Hall, talking about Garrett Wilson and Njoku. Amari Cooper, I still think he's got legs left. I know going into the offseason, especially the fact that he didn't play in Week 17, turning 30 years old, a lot of people are going to be off of Amari Cooper. Not me. I'm still a big Amari Cooper fan. And if Deshaun Watson can pick up that chemistry that he has with Joe Flacco, could be really good things to come for that older veteran, some value, especially in startup drafts in 2024. The Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions played on Saturday. We ain't going to get in to everything that happened in the game. I'm not talking about the referees, who reported eligible, none of that stuff. Dallas won 20-19. Dallas is 11-5. But we ain't here to talk about the game. We're trying to dive into the fantasy matchups and the players in those games. So let's talk about it. Right at the top, 2 quarterbacks. Jared Goff, who absolutely underwhelmed for us when we needed him most. Jared Goff, not good when you needed him most. 2 interceptions, was sacked 1, 31 QBR, 1 touchdown pass, 271. And if you look at him on the week, Jared Goff finished his QB 27, less points than Mason Rudolph, Easton Stick, Bailey Zappi, gave us 10.84 fantasy points, and a lot of that was done towards the end of the game. He busted for us. I mean, he absolutely busted for us. It wasn't a complete zero because you got something out of there. But moving forward, Jared Goff looks to be the quarterback of the future, at least the near future for the Detroit Lions. And then you already know what it is with the running back core, Jahmyr Gibbs. He is the rookie RB1 coming out of 2023. If you didn't watch the video that I posted yesterday, Rookie Report, top 25 rookies from 2023 for the 2024 season, I talked about Bijan and Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs. And if I had to pick right now, one of those 3 running backs, I would take Jahmyr Gibbs. The community is very, very hesitant on Devon Achane. I ran a couple of polls. Oh, he's too small, can't handle the workload. And Bijan Robinson in Atlanta, paired with Tyler Algier, it feels like an offense that needs a lot more, especially up top with Arthur Smith, offensive coordinator, quarterback change, whole philosophy change in Atlanta. I do think that moving forward for me, Gibbs would be the number 1 running back from the 23 class that I would feel comfortable moving forward with in Dynasty. Amon-Ra St. Brown, a player that we talked a lot about coming into the season. Can he do the type of things to match and mirror his Trinity score and being valued as a top 5 Dynasty wide receiver? And I can say that after this year of Amon-Ra St. Brown, no questions. He doesn't get the air yards. I don't give a damn. 112 receptions, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, top 5 across the board in the NFL. Absolute stud. So if you've been tapped in, once again, this is one of my top 5 rookies coming out of the 21 class. And when everybody was telling people to sell Amon-Ra St. Brown, I was saying, nah, man, fade that noise. Hold on to this young man. He's an absolute star. Amon-Ra St. Brown proved that this year along with Sam Laporta. And I'll just say that big game J-Mo, he's done a little bit to make me think maybe there could be something there, especially in best ball formats with Jameson Williams moving forward. But let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys and their pass catchers. Brandon Cooks came on towards the end of the season, productive, but I don't know if he's done enough for Dallas to say we're going to give him a 2 or 3 year deal. We'll see how that plays out. Jake Ferguson does look like a young emerging star at tight end. He's a locked-in top 10 Dynasty tight end for me, probably in that 7, 8, 9 range right now. But CeeDee Lamb, that's what I want to talk about. 13 for 227, 1 touchdown when you needed him the most. 17 freaking targets from Dak to CeeDee Lamb. That deserves an air horn. 17 targets, absolute stud, monster, top 3 Dynasty wide receiver. He is in the same tier as Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Those are the top 3 wide receivers in Dynasty. CeeDee Lamb took his game to another level. Would love to see Dallas surround him with some other playmakers to help him out as well. The running back room, Tony Pollard's been a big-time disappointment this year. One of my bigger misses on the season. I was a big Tony Pollard could be an RB1, the RB1 on the season. 6th in the NFL in carries. He was 10th in yards, 22nd in touchdowns, and he did not have a good yard per average per attempt. Seems like this team missed Ezekiel Elliott throughout the year, the ability to have that physical downhill running presence, to move the chains, to pick up tough yards. Just wasn't the Tony Pollard role this year. And then you've got Dak Prescott, who a lot of people like to shit on Dak Prescott because he plays quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, but there's no doubt about it. Dak is one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy football, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And when you needed him in the fantasy championships, he gave you 345, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. You look at where that places him on the week. QB8, 20.3 fantasy points per game. You'll take that in Superflex or single quarterback leagues. Moving forward, these are studs. You want your Dallas Cowboys. Ferg, Lamb, Pollard. We'll see what Dallas does with him. I'm not sure they actually pay him and bring him back, so it's going to be an interesting development to watch what Dallas does at the running back position. Maybe they go after an older veteran, a Derrick Henry, potentially, Josh Jacobs. Who knows what they're going to do, but they've got to upgrade that position because Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, and Deuce Vaughn are not going to be able to do what they need them to do moving forward. So Pollard's dynasty value, he's been a sell for me for quite some time. So yeah, I mean, if you can get out of Tony Pollard still, that'd be a move that I'd try to make. So Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, they beat the Patriots 27-21. It was an ugly game. It wasn't a particularly good game from Josh Allen, who didn't throw any touchdown passes, 50% completion percentage, sub 170 yards, sacked 1 time, but he got it done for you with 11 for 44 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Allen is Allen. Allen is a top 2 fantasy quarterback in Dynasty. It is what it is, and you can make a strong case that Josh Allen, after this season, despite how poorly he threw the ball on Sunday, is the Dynasty quarterback 1. Patrick Mahomes is there. I think a lot of people are starting to move Jalen Hurts down. Maybe there's a shift between C.J. Stroud, Jalen Hurts. Maybe you get an Anthony Richardson once the steam starts to come back and his dual threat ability paired with Shane Steichen. But Josh Allen, in my opinion, is the Dynasty quarterback 1, even when he has an off day throwing the ball, and it hasn't been really good since Joe Brady took over as OC. He can get it done on the legs. When he's at the goal line, he's unstoppable and sort of that tush-push play. Josh Allen stud moving forward. We don't have a lot to talk about from that angle. Bailey Zappi nor Mac Jones are it. We're not saying anything else about Bailey Zappi. Not good. Even though he did score a touchdown on the ground, and he outscored some of the quarterbacks that you guarantee it. You started he outscored Patrick freaking Mahomes. Like who would have expected that? But there's nothing moving forward. Nothing at all. From the running back room, the Patriots, I guess I'm rostering Kevin Harris, any running back on a 53. Zeke Elliott, hopefully he works his way back to Dallas. Bring Zeke back to Dallas. That's what we need, Zeke in Dallas. I do think there's something left in the tank for Zeke. It's going to look much different than a young, spry running back, but I think Zeke showed enough this year that he can be a viable complement to a starter. You know, just think of Zeke paired with Tony Pollard this year. You put Zeke in Jacksonville with Travis Etienne, Zeke in Kansas City with Pacheco, you know, when he went down. Just think about him in a complementary role with one of these teams, and I definitely think there is fantasy value moving forward inside of the Zeke Elliott tank. On the other side of the ball, James Cook, 16 for 48. Didn't do a lot in this game on the ground or through the air. Again, the offense under Joe Brady just has not cooked like it was cooking before with Ken Dorsey, even though they were losing games. I don't think he's a top 10 running back in Dynasty. I think there's a lot of ADV built into the James Cook price. So I'm still on the fence of if I could sell him for player plus, I would absolutely do that in a heartbeat. And we'll talk about maybe some younger players that you could pivot down to off of James Cook. He's a good player. I like James Cook. Glad I had him on my rosters, but if I can tear down off of him, wouldn't mind doing that. Receivers for the Patriots, the only one that I have any interest in, talked about him on the Rookie Report wrap-up. Pop Douglas, that's about it. No thank you, Juju. He played a Super Bowl versus the Steelers. After that, he ain't played a game. Been terrible since that game. Hasn't done anything. Knee blew up, exploded, who knows. I don't want any of those guys after DeMario Douglas. And on the other side of the ball, Khalil Shakir, deep rosters. I'll take some Khalil Shakir. Stefon Diggs, I don't know what has happened with Diggs. Hey, man, stop all that barking. What's happened with Diggs since the change up top? But he has not been good the last month and a half of the season. Diggs may be fine playing his way into a new home next year. He may be somewhere else next year. You listen to Matt Harmon, who does great stuff with reception perception, says it's not a matter of separation with Stefon Diggs. It's scheme, getting him the ball. Don't know what's going on in Buffalo, but would love to see Diggs get a change of scenery. Still think there's a lot of value left in that veteran tank of Stefon Diggs. And then you talk about Dalton Kincaid, the young rookie tight end, finally got back on track this week, 4 for 87. Gabe Davis, you know what big play Gabe Davis is. He's either catching touchdown passes or he's not doing much of anything. He is what he is. I don't need to explain that moving forward, but I do think the big takeaway is the Stefon Diggs thing. I mean, look at him. This was the last 5 games, 74, 24, 48, 29, 26. Targets are going down. He still has a decent target share because they're not throwing the ball as much. He's going to finish the season. Look at this, 152 targets, right around 1,100 yards right now for Diggs. 1 game left to go. He's going to play in that one because Buffalo's going for the AFC title game. I'm going to be very interested to see how they work him in versus Miami. Like, get Diggs the ball, please. So this is one going into next season. I'm just telling you right now what this feels like. This feels like how people treated Keenan Allen and Mike Evans coming into this season, where nobody really wants to draft Diggs. They don't believe, I don't know, kind of old. Then all of a sudden they continue to smash, continue to do well. He's going to have a star next to his name for me as one of those veteran value wide receivers that I can get in the offseason for some of that rookie hopium. I'm still want me some Stefon Diggs, even though he disappointed for us down the stretch. Miami and Baltimore got it popping, baby. That was the game of the weekend, projected to be that. And Baltimore went out there and put foot in the Miami Dolphins. Now, Miami did not have Jalen Waddle nor Raheem Mostert going into that one, but I still thought they would put up a strong fight. Tyreek Hill dropped the damn touchdown pass early in that game. And then after that, it was Lamar Jackson. Awesome in this matchup. 18 for 21, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, 95.9 QBR. Could add another touchdown, but they let Tyler Huntley come in and throw one to Charlie Kohler. Lamar Jackson wrapped up the NFL MVP. And stop disrespecting and stop playing in Lamar Jackson's face. This is a top 5 dynasty quarterback. Top 5. Give me Lamar Jackson. There aren't 5 quarterbacks better for fantasy football than Lamar Jackson. Give me 5. You might like some better. There may be some that you like that can throw the ball a little bit better. This is the NFL MVP playing on the best team in the NFL, who just put foot in the highest scoring offense in the NFL. And not only did they put foot in him, they put foot in him to the tune of the second most points in franchise history, 56. And they kind of let off the gas in this one. Moving forward, Lamar top 5 in Dynasty, dead or alive. He is that freaking good. Running back room, Gus Edwards doing his job, is going to continue to be there and just gobbling up opportunities. It would have been fun to watch J.K. Dobbins in this offense, but, season-ending injury, it's tough. Justice Hill played well in this matchup, but neither of those two guys hold a lot of dynasty value moving forward. They're just running backs on a 53. Zay Flowers, incredible rookie wide receiver, a top 10 wide receiver, a top 10 rookie going into 2024. Monster day on 3 catches, 106 yards, and he scored a touchdown. Isaiah Likely was somebody that I was very high on coming into the season. Todd Monken coming from Georgia, using multiple tight ends. I thought this would be a good year for Likely. Started off quite slow, was not getting a lot of opportunity. And then once Mark Andrews went down, we got to see this second-year talented player get some more opportunity. So hopefully they continue to use Isaiah Likely moving forward. But we all know when Mandrews is back, Mark Andrews is the guy. OBJ, when he's on the field, he's making great catches. The problem is he ain't finishing games. So 31 years old, how much value does he have going into next year? I don't know. Rashad Bateman still has a little ADV in his name. He had a decent game, even though he was strapped up a couple of plays. But ultimately from Baltimore, the players that you want to invest in moving forward, no doubt Lamar Jackson, no doubt Zay Flowers. Maybe you can get a discount on Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely potentially. And then the other receivers, I'm just letting everybody else have at it. Now on the Miami side of the ball, let's talk about it. We talked about Tyreek Hill dropping a touchdown pass when we needed him most in the championship game. 6 for 76, pretty pedestrian for Tyreek Hill. I keep calling him the Paul Pierce of NFL players. Every time he hits the ground, he's getting up slow. He's hobbling off the field, but he's always out there, right? Tyreek Hill is a stud moving into next season. He's a top 5 wide receiver for fantasy. Jalen Waddle didn't play. He's one where I think there is a lot of ADV in Jalen Waddle's name. If I can pivot off of Waddle, even in this same game, if I can trade you Jalen Waddle for Zay Flowers plus, I'm making that deal 1,000 out of 1,000 times. Can I move Jalen Waddle for Rashee Rice? Jalen Waddle for Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba plus? I'm doing it. It's not an indictment on Waddle. It's the fact that as long as Tyreek Hill is there, you see the target distribution, 12 to Tyreek. It's going to look like that every single time because Tua, that's who he trusts, is Tyreek Hill. Devon Achane, my rookie number 6 rookie from the 2023 class, Superflex formats. Talked about this on the wrap-up rookie report. Monster day for him, for us, if you had Devon Achane, 4 for 30 and a touchdown through the air, and then over 100 yards on the ground for the young stud. This is a player, my biggest rookie hit. In my opinion, it was Devon Achane. I talked about him. He was the player that was going to put process to the test. It was going to put people's process to the test, and Achane cashed out for us this season. Phenomenal year for this young rookie. He's a top 8 Dynasty running back, and despite the size, he's got electric, game-changing speed, and he's got good toughness. He's banged up quite a bit this year, which is a little concerning. So it'll be interesting to see how Miami handles him moving forward with a bunch of older running backs. I would not be shocked if they bring in a body to complement Mostert and Achane if Mostert is back, or they're definitely going to have to bring somebody if it's just Devon Achane. But he should have tremendous value going into next season and be happy if you have him on your rosters. Now, let's talk about Tua for a hot second and just how's everybody feeling about Tua? Because there's a big difference with he's good. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know where he ranks in Dynasty. Like, I guess he's in that 9, 10, 11 range. 237, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked a couple of times. You take away Tyreek, he's not out there, he's limited. It just looks a lot different. And we like to do this with quarterbacks we don't like, the Dak Prescotts, the Brock Purdys, but we try to excuse it away for Tua. It's the same difference, man. It's the same difference. So it's interesting that Miami hasn't talked about a contract extension. His 5th-year option is coming up. They better give him his money, pay him. Concussion free this year. All the worries we had about him retiring and falling off the face of the cliff, those should be gone, dissipated to some degree. So Tua moving forward, pretty locked in. You know, top 10, top 12 Dynasty quarterback. We'll see what these young guys do to some of the older players whenever they matriculate on into the NFL. But overall, there's a lot of fantasy goodness on both of these teams moving forward in 24. All right, I was sick of looking at all those ads and shit on the side of the screen. So let's get those off of the screen and talk about the Atlanta Falcons and the Chicago Bears. Yes, woo! 37-17, and the Bears rounding out this season, technically still in playoff contention. And I'm letting y'all know right now, I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm just going to drop the bomb and get this out of the way. Justin Fields deserves to be the Bears starter next season. Justin Fields should be the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears in 2024. Bomb, drop it again. I know it ain't pretty. I know it doesn't look like Aaron Rodgers. It's never going to look like Drew Brees. Hell, it ain't going to look like no Mahomes. None of those guys. But he's a dynamic player, dynamic athlete with a unique skill set, and they have talent. DJ freaking Moore this season has been incredible. I said that these two going into the season are a top 10 combination, hell, top 5 combination for fantasy football. DJ Moore has set career highs in receiving yards and reception. I mean, just money. 1,300 yards, almost 100 receptions, and 8 touchdowns for DJ Moore. 26 years old, underrated every single year. DJ Moore is a stud. Get Justin Fields some help up front. Get him some wide receivers. This would be and can be a fun offense with Fields, with Neighbors or Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson, Justin Fields, starter for the Bears in 24. And if the Bears are foolish enough to let him go, I'd be very curious to see where Fields lands. And maybe Arthur Blank got a little taste of what could be his future starting quarterback in defeat at Soldier Field against the Bears. Fields is a stud. Khalil Herbert, I would capitalize off of this big game. I would try to move Khalil Herbert if I could personally. I'm trying to buy a few shares of Roschon Johnson. I'm high on that rookie. I had him top 20 in the rookie wrap-up report. DJ Moore, locked and loaded. In my opinion, he's a top 12 Dynasty wide receiver. I know a lot of people don't value him that way, but for me, he's a top 12 option. And when he's on the field, he's one of the best in the NFL. And then their tight end, Cole Kmet, did not have anything pop off for him in this game, which is unfortunate. Let you down when you needed him most in the fantasy championships. But Cole Kmet is a top 10, top 7, 8 option moving forward in Dynasty. A lot of good pieces in Chicago. A lot of damn good pieces in Atlanta, too. They just don't use them. You look at this, Bijan, 15 for 75, one of his better games on the ground, 3 for 11 through the air. Tyler Algier, only 5 carries, but he did have that one long 75-yard beautiful screenplay that I wish went to Bijan Robinson, but it actually helped me win a league with Algier. Drake London, another pedestrian day, and Kyle Pitts finishes the fantasy championships with 1 for 5 yards. It's putrid. Taylor Heineke, 3 interceptions. Desmond Ridder came in and threw a pick. Neither of them have long-term Dynasty value. They are backups, and that is what they are moving forward on this offense. If it is Arthur Smith at the helm, I don't know, man. I put Bijan as RB2. If it's the same staff with this quarterback room or they're trying to piecemeal it together, I think there's a real world where you're like, give me Achane, give me Gibbs over Bijan. Like, Algier's not going anywhere. He's shown enough competency to be an involved running back in the NFL. He's not going to get relegated to the bench. So, like, what's changing in this situation in Atlanta next year? Quarterback is the big thing. I know a lot of people are talking about Kirk Cousins, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix. I'm not banking on a rookie quarterback from Washington to come in and turn this franchise around. It could happen. I lost C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans, but with Arthur Smith at the helm, I just don't feel good about this situation at all. And it's a little bit of a learning lesson that no matter how much you may like a prospect or how much you believe in this prospect's talent, like, don't ignore what the team is telling you. What did the Atlanta Falcons tell us all season? That Tyler Algier is good enough to get carries, that Tyler Algier is going to be involved, that we're not going to give Bijan Robinson 30-plus opportunities a game. And people really believed that going into the season that Bijan was going to get, 30-plus opportunities a game. And right now, you look at his fantasy scoring, he's outside the top 15. And you paid a first-round startup pick for him in redraft leagues. I'm looking through his game log this year to see how many times he had. He had over 20 carries one time. He had an 18-carry game, a 16-carry game, a 19-carry game, second game of the season. Did a lot of damage in the receiving game. He's an incredible talent. He's a very talented player. The problem is this coaching staff is stubborn, and he's got a good running mate in Tyler Algier. So what's happening in Atlanta, everybody is going to be paying attention to this storyline from start to finish of the free agency process through the draft. Changes need to happen. I'll just say that. Changes need to happen for us to feel good about the Atlanta Falcons in 2024. Vegas and the Indianapolis Colts. Shane Steichen gets another win, 9-7 on the season. What a freaking coach. I bet you the Philadelphia Eagles miss him. And then Antonio Pierce, who everybody's rooting for, but I bet you Al Davis doesn't hire him. They go down and score 20 points and lose by 3 in this matchup. Big takeaways for me from this game is Anthony Richardson. He's in good hands. Cannot wait until he comes back and playing with Shane Steichen. Things should look really good in this offense. Jonathan Taylor came back. He was a stud, got it done for us in the fantasy championships. Michael Pittman Jr. returning from a 2-game absence from a concussion. Only had 5 for 46, so sort of a letdown in the fantasy championships for us. Josh Downs, 53 yards, big play early in the game, nothing else after that. My takeaway from the Colts is this is going to be a situation that I want pieces of. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman Jr., Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, and hopefully they find a capable and competent tight end to complement that young quarterback, this running game, and those receivers. This should be fun. Indianapolis finishing the season with damn near 10 wins was something nobody had on the bingo card. People thought they would be the worst team in the NFL, and now they're right there in the thick of it for a playoff spot. So congrats to Indy. I think they hit home runs with their selections. They've got a great head coach in Shane Steichen. I'm looking forward to ARich with this offense in 24. Raiders, Zamir White, once again, another bell cow type usage day. 70 yards on the ground, caught a couple of passes, and was good for us in the fantasy championships when you needed them. Devontae Adams, Devontae freaking Adams does it again. He does it again. Last year in week 17, he smashed versus San Francisco. This year, dropped the bomb, smashed again for us in week 17. 13 for 126 and 2. Tay Adams got a lot left in the tank, and I'm glad I got him on some rosters. And I'll just tell you this, in the offseason, when people are like, man, he's too old, yada, 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 give me all the Tay Adams I can get. This could have been even better had he not dropped the touchdown pass versus Chicago, had a couple of quarterback issues along the way. Devontae Adams still has a ton left in the tank. Zamir White, solid. And we talked about this coming into the football season. And one of the players I said I was most concerned about in all of fantasy football not being in the championship game when you needed him most, there were two players, Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs. And Derrick Henry was there in body, but not there in football spirit. And Josh Jacobs, I don't know where he is. He's not going to be in Las Vegas anymore. Wasn't there. I faded him. He was my least roster player in all of Best Ball Mania, all of the underdog drafts, because I just did not, from what they did to him, making him play in the preseason game, leading the league in rushing and not wanting him to pay him, I was like, ain't no way. There's no way Jacobs is going to be there when you need him most, and he was not there. So hopefully, again, if you're tapped in from beginning to end, these are some of the things that we talk about all freaking season long. Moving forward, Aiden O'Connell, I think he has done enough to warrant a high-level leverage backup quarterback job. Raiders should be in the market for a franchise-changing quarterback. I don't believe that's Aiden O'Connell, but I do think Aiden O'Connell, if they were like, we're going to let him start next season to see what he has, do a full rebuild, I don't think he's going to nuke anybody. He's going to get Adams the ball, 21 freaking targets, yo. Like, you can't ask for anything more than that. If you play in a point-per-target league, he freaking smashed just off of targets. Jacoby Myers, there's a little hope there for him moving forward. You know what he is. He's the complementary player in that number 2 role. I'm buying some Raiders. I'm buying some Raiders moving forward. I like Adams. I think Trey Tucker and Best Ball definitely needs to be on rosters. Jacoby Myers, you know what he is. Zamir White. Give me some of the Raiders. Good stuff for the Raiders this year. I'm happy to see this team progress, and I'm happy to watch some of these players play in 2024. Y'all, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be real with y'all. I really don't want to talk about this Carolina-Jacksonville game. I really don't, because Bryce Young was my biggest, and I mean biggest miss this rookie draft season. We'll get to the second biggest miss, but Bryce Young was a massive miss, and I'm not going to put it on everybody else. He did not play well this season. That's period. He didn't play well. Yes, the infrastructure is a mess. David Tepper, the owner, is throwing drinks on people. They're firing Frank Wright. The offense, it has been a travesty in Carolina since Cam Newton's departure. You let go of McCaffrey. You trade DJ Moore instead of J.C. Horn and Brian Burns. It has been colossal failure after failure. And Bryce Young walked into a no-win type situation. To be the number 1 overall pick for a team to give up all of that capital to trade for him, no-win situation. And he didn't do anything to make us feel better about it either. Let's just be real. Finishes the fantasy season with 112 yards, picked, sacked 6 times, got injured in the game. He was awful. Chuba Hubbard didn't do anything either. It was just, there's nothing to really discuss from the Carolina Panthers side besides the fact that they need everything. They need coach, they need coordinator, they need line, they need receivers, they need running help, they need everything. So fantasy moving forward, I'm willing to give Bryce Young additional opportunities because he was the number 1 overall pick, because he is going to be the starting quarterback next year. There's no doubt about that. But a lot of shit has got to change in Carolina for this to be an environment that produces fantasy points. This is bad. Jacksonville side of the ball, even without their star quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, the offense didn't look too inept. It was fine. Evan Ingram, 6 for 60. He did his thing for you. Over 100 receptions. Evan Ingram resurgence. Let's go, Evan Ingram. C.J. Beathard did enough. Got the ball to a couple of players. Travis Etienne smashed with 2 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley, sort of a big disappointment on the season. A lot of people thought that Ridley was going to walk into this role and just be a 1,300-yard receiver. and it didn't happen. Consistency was an issue for this Jacksonville team. And moving forward, man, I think people are going to start to question Trevor Lawrence. He's somebody that ARich and I on Wake Up talked about his value 5 years from now. We did this exercise where we looked ahead, who's going to be the top 10 quarterbacks in Dynasty 5 years from now. Just an impossible exercise. But I didn't have Trevor Lawrence on my list because of the Jekyll and Hyde performance you get from T-Law. Now, he missed his first game of his career, but he'll go on a stretch for 3 weeks. You think he's the best quarterback in the NFL, and then he'll go the next 2-3 games, and you're like, how is he even a starter in the NFL? Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville, they're going to have to get it done. Pressure and fire is going to be, it's on Justin Fields. Mac Jones has had his heat from the 21 class. Trey Lance, Zach Wilson. Trevor Lawrence, is time to step it up in 24. So hopefully he'll continue to progress. They put pieces around him, but moving forward inside of Jacksonville, I don't know. If I've got Ridley, if I can move off of Calvin Ridley, no problem. He can go. I can move off of Ridley. Overall, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, Evan Ingram, big time buy. Mingo, 3 targets. We talked about him on the Trinity. This offense just sucks. There's nothing else to say besides this offense and this team, the Carolina Panthers, were horrible and did not produce a lot of fantasy success for us, especially when you needed the players the most down the stretch. Tennessee versus Houston. C.J. Stroud's return after suffering a concussion, missed a couple of games. Came back out there and looked a little rusty, right? 213 yards, did score a touchdown. Nico Collins was in and out, banged up. No Tank Dell. We know he's out for the season. Devin Singletary, let's go. Round of applause. It's air horn. Devin Singletary's resurgence in Houston, and hopefully he retains his job next year. Completely ate Dameon Pierce's lunch. Missed by a lot of people in the community. Moving forward, if you can get you some cheap Singletary, because people don't think it's going to last, any running back on a 53, it's going to be a throw-in that I try to get, especially after the draft, and Houston takes their favorite 5th-round running back, and Singletary's done. I will be buying a bunch of Singletary to get me to the chips. I'm telling y'all, this year, I finished top 50 in the Underdog Best Ball Mania, not Best Ball Mania, but Big Board Superflex. I'm coming for the chip next year. I'm coming for the BBM title, BBM 5. I'm coming for some of those big board titles. I am all in on Underdog Fantasy Best Ball in 23, and we're going to 24, and we're going to be doing a lot of strategy talk on this channel about those contests and those tournaments. But Devin Singletary, I'm going to have a lot of them next year. What a find for the Houston Texans and what should be Coach of the Year, DeMeco Ryans, because this team was definitely projected to be bad. Nico Collins, moving forward, like him, but they're definitely going to add receiver help in that room because all of them are injured. Got to find somebody else to accompany your truck quarterback, C.J. Stroud. Brevin Jordan, like the fact that he got in the end zone, was a fan of him coming out of Miami. We'll see. We'll see with Brevin Jordan and Dalton Schultz. On the other side, DeAndre Hopkins still has a lot left in the tank. He'll be one of those old veterans that nobody wants that you'll be able to get for cheap. Does he last to the end of the season? Who knows? But I'll have some DeAndre Hopkins. Derrick Henry, we're hoping he's on a new roster next year because he was completely just sort of phased out of this one as time went on. And then their quarterback, Will Levis. Will's going to be the starter next year. He does not have a lot of hype and enthusiasm from the Dynasty community. He's one where if he doesn't smash in 2024, you could see the Tennessee Titans going in a completely different direction. Another one of the players that I would not mind liquidating if I have him. And Tyjae Spears, knowing that Derrick Henry is probably going to be on another team, wouldn't mind acquiring some Tyjae Spears at a reduced cost. Can I get him for a second later? Not right now. I'm not paying for no damn running back now. But I think he's probably valued as around a second-round pick. And my boy, Treylon Burks, a disappointing sophomore season. Again, is it his fault? Is it the offense? Probably a little bit of both, but 16 freaking catches on the year for 200 yards is just not going to get it done. Chigo Conco caught some more towards the end. I've got a little more hope in him than I do in Treylon Burks right now. So, love you, Treylon, but probably not going to happen for you in fantasy football, at least in this regime under this team. It's been rough for Treylon Burks and the Tennessee Titans. Fly, Eagles, fly, cry, Eagles, cry. Losing to the Arizona Cardinals at home. Wow. Philly just went out there, and I mean, James Conner blast from the pass, slammed it down their throats. 26 for 128, 1 touchdown, caught a nasty one-handed touchdown pass in the side of the end zone. Greg Dortch was going off, Michael Wilson scoring. Trey McBride didn't even have a big game in this one. Kyler didn't do a lot on the ground. I mean, Philly Shane Steichen, it is amazing how much a coordinator can impact and change what's happening in an offense. And this offense looks like a shell of itself from last year. Jalen Hurts looks like a shell of himself. I don't know what the hell has happened to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith of late. This team, they need an OC. They lost to their former defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. Shane Steichen is thriving with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. And you're telling me that Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Lane Johnson, Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, they can't get it going? This is, for the fantasy championship, Hurts did his thing, got you 3 touchdowns, but A.J. Brown, bust. Absolute. And you want a lot from a player like from A.J. Brown. This is what happened. This is what A.J. Brown happened, man.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Busted. Him, Devontae Smith.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Bust when you needed him most. Very unfortunate to watch all that play out. We will be monitoring Philadelphia this offseason to see what the hell they do to change some stuff up front, because this is not good. What we've seen from Philly offensively from a fantasy production standpoint, not good. Hurts is definitely teetering that top 3 dynasty quarterback line. DeAndre Swift, definitely looking forward for some more involvement from him in Philadelphia next year. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith going to do their thing in the fantasy championships. Damn, Julio Jones with 2 touchdown passes. Who saw that coming? And Kyler Murray on the other side. Kyler, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception on the day. You know, there were a lot of talk about Kyler potentially being on his way out with Arizona having that high pick. Could they go Drake May? Could they go Caleb Williams? I do think Kyler Murray is going to be the starting quarterback. They need to just build around Kyler. He had nobody to throw to. Greg Dortch, Rondell Moore, and he's throwing to 5'7" wide receivers. Get him some size, get him some speed on the outside. Marv would be a perfect pairing with Kyler, with Trey McBride. And I'm going to just say this. I told you. Trey McBeast, top 2 dynasty tight end. Tight end number 2 for me, behind Sam Laporta. Trey McBride, if you can still acquire, go do it. Absolute monster, absolute stud. Can't wait to watch this new version. Really feels like George Kittle when he came on with San Francisco. I am excited for 2024. Trey McBride, he's got tight end 1 overall type upside in 2024. So if you can get you some McBride, do it. That's going to be a move that yields dividends in the long term. Now let's have some fun talking about this game. The Rams and the Giants. This was a fun game to watch it play out. And in my opinion, probably my biggest miss of the 23 fantasy football season, Daniel stinking Jones. Yuck. Daniel Jones, injured, out. The Giants have been ass this year. Matt Stafford, not his best day, but he threw for 317 yards, scored a touchdown pass, threw 1 touchdown pass. Kyren Williams, absolute stud. 20 for 87, 3 touchdowns, and he caught 2 passes for 14 yards. Puka Nacua is the one. He is my rookie wide receiver 1, rookie number 3 overall behind ARich and C.J. Stroud. Puka Nacua on the season, 27 yards away from the rookie record receiving yard-wise, over 100 receptions, going to finish the year with close to 1,500 yards. Hopefully we get some more touchdowns out of Puka Nacua, but he is the real freaking deal. Talked about him on Player Profiler with Matt Kelly in February of this year, saying, hey, this is going to be a sleeper. This is somebody that you're going to want. You're going to want to monitor. People thought it was a joke. Puka Nacua, the real freaking deal. Cooper Kupp, it's going down for Cooper Kupp, right? This maybe he was banged up. Maybe it was the injury, but it's Puka Nacua's team now. Thank you, Cooper Kupp, for your triple crown a couple of years ago. More name than game at this point. Hopefully he rebounds, gets healthy, comes back, and is a nice compliment to Puka Nacua with Matthew Stafford in 2024. A lot of people talking about Kyren not going to be the guy next year. McVay's going to draft somebody else to replace Kyren. I don't know about that. Will they draft another running back? Sure. Every team should draft a running back or 2 every draft class. But replacing Kyren Williams, I don't think that's going to happen. I think if you got Kyren off of waivers, you got him cheap as a throw-in earlier this season, you've got you a top 24 pick in redraft formats in all formats next year, if not higher. Saquon Barkley did not get it done for us in the fantasy championship. There was another player that I was concerned about not being there because of the contract. He got a contract. but the team was just awful. He just busted for us. I mean, just
Lord have mercy, I'm about to
Just
bust.
busted. Yes. Lord have mercy. Saquon did, in fact, bust for us in the 2023 Fantasy Championships. Jalen Hyatt, rookie that I got a little bit of interest in moving forward. Trinity is decent. Eric Gray, no thanks. Wan'Dale Robinson, sure, a little bit. Darius Slayton, a little bit. Best ball, deeper leagues. This is just a bad team. This team needs a complete makeover, and hopefully Brian Daboll and company find a way to get that done in 2024. Tampa Bay and New Orleans, the Saints got it done 23-13. The NFC South, still a mess. Everybody just battling for that division crown, and it's going to come down, I think it's coming down to Week 18, but Derek Carr, once again, did enough to retain his starting job for 2024. There it is. That's all I have to say. He's done enough to probably retain that starting job in 24, but that should not preclude Dennis Allen and company from looking for a quarterback of the future. Baker Mayfield started off the game rocky, but he finished strong. Probably going to be Tampa Bay's quarterback in 24. Rachaad White, more inefficiency running the ball, and I wouldn't be shocked if they drafted a running back. This is one, despite the great season that he's had, I feel like this is kind of a trap. I would be trying to liquidate some Rachaad White if I could. From the pass catcher side of the ball, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin will be veteran values next year. And Trey Palmer, talked about him on the Rookie Report recap, is one of the rookies that in best ball formats in particular, I want some shares of Trey Palmer going into 24. Cade Otton, not an impact tight end, don't really care. Other side of the ball, Juwan Johnson, monster, massive game from Juwan Johnson. We'll see how that plays out. Chris Olave, sound it. Lord have mercy.
Lord have
you know
mercy,
what it
I'm
is.
about to bust.
Yes, he did. He busted for us in the fantasy championships, 3 for 26, but finishes the season with another 1,000 yards. Chris Olave, another one of those players where there may be some ADV baked into that name. A lot of value, but is Chris Olave going to be a 1,400, 1,500 type difference maker? Like Puka Nacua's 1,500 yards made a difference on your rosters. Chris Olave's 1,000 yards, there was probably a week or two where he helped win it, but overall, can you extract some value from Olave's name to tear down to a player that's going to produce equal to similar production and get a plus on top of it? Can I move Chris Olave for Michael Pittman Jr. plus? Can I make that type of move to move Chris Olave to a Rashee Rice? Those are the type of moves that I'm trying to do in the offseason, striking on the ADV of some of these players and capitalizing on some production with some others. Juwan Johnson, I want to see what they do. They paid him money. He's a young tight end, played well, a little bit banged up this year, but it looked like Derek Carr found some chemistry with him. Let's watch the Juwan Johnson train go into Week 18. And then the running backs. Alvin Kamara got banged up. When he came back, he was one of the players I said, I can't stop drafting him. I want some Kamara. He was a top running back for about 10 straight weeks, and then it faltered towards the end of the season. We'll see if Kamara's back. We know that Kendre Miller was drafted to potentially be his replacement. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me if the Saints just said, let's roll it back with Kamara another year. So another one of those veterans. Would be interesting to see where he lands, where he ends up. Hell, bring him to Dallas. Bring all the running backs to Dallas. We need as much help as we can freaking get. Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks. Pittsburgh 9-7. Mike Tomlin, they've been trying to write him off, and he ain't writing back, man. He ain't writing back. 9-7. Pittsburgh still in the playoff hunt with Mason freaking Rudolph as quarterback. Came out today that Tomlin said Pickett could be ready, but we're not taking the ball out of Rudolph's hands. It should let you know everything you need to know about Kenny Pickett. Get out. I don't know if I had the sounder, the video, the get out of Pickett while you can. He's not very good. The team knows it. The coaches know it. Everybody knows it. Get out while you can. Najee Harris, again, go check the receipts. I said this a few weeks ago. He's the type of player that nobody likes. Najee Harris, RB 30-something in Dynasty. He's going to be a starting running back in the NFL for as long as his body can hold up because he can just withstand punishment. And you look at the season, top 12 in rushing, top 8 in carries. They need a quarterback. They need some help. They need some weapons. I am in on Najee Harris in Dynasty at cost. If people are trading him 2/3, a late second, give me all the Najee Harris in 2024. I'm not buying him today, but he's going to be a player that can just absorb carries. Think Zeke Elliott, Joe Mixon, Brian Robinson. These guys are going to have work for as long as they can stay healthy. Najee Harris, great way to finish the 2023 fantasy season. And Jalen Warren was a stud as well. This is a nice 1-2 punch in the backfield. right before the season started, dropped a video talking about them needing to use Jalen Warren more. It happened, and it's yielded standalone value for Jalen Warren. These are two running backs we should have interest in 2024. George Pickens, another monster day, and GP dropped the bomb. This is one where my co-host Scott Connor and I went back and forth on Pickens all offseason. Is he really good? Pickens is good. Pickens is a good player. Pickens is a little bit of a wild card from time to time, and the offensive efficiency of the Pittsburgh Steelers is a problem, but George Pickens can play. He's going to finish the season with over 1,300 yards potentially. The receptions aren't there. We want more targets, but you can't expect more when Kenny Pickett is playing quarterback for you. This is a talented, young wide receiver. He's going to be 23 years old next year, going into year 3, 6'3", over 200 pounds. Sign me up for some George Pickens moving forward in 2023. One of the receivers that I'm going to really dive into the Trinity on and see if we can extract some more information. I think there is something significant there with George Pickens. Deontay Johnson, he's good, but his antics of late looks like there's been a shift in offensive philosophy to get Pickens the ball, bigger play threat, downfield stuff. Give me George Pickens over Deontay Johnson easily. And then Pat Fryer with a lot of ADV in that name. If I can trade his name and get Ferguson, get Juwan Johnson plus, it's probably a move I'm trying to make. Other side of the ball, Geno Smith, not going to get replaced. Hasn't been great, but hasn't been awful this season. Kenneth Walker, stud. Zach Charbonnet talked about him as well. Really doesn't have a lot of value outside of a Kenneth Walker injury. DK Metcalf, stud, alpha on the team moving forward. JSN, I know he had a bad game. 1 for 12, 2 targets. But look at Tyler Lockett, 1 for 10 on 5 targets. Just a bad day for Seattle. But I trust the Trinity when it comes to Jackson Smith and Jigba. And old Noah Fant coming through for you if you had to start him in a pinch in the fantasy playoffs. And the final team that we're going to talk about to wrap up this 2023 fantasy season takeaway is the San Francisco 49ers and the Washington Commanders. Time stamping this bad boy right here. The Niners won 27-10, and it was a competitive game in this one. For a little bit, Washington hung in there. Sam Howell launched another 2 picks. Washington currently holds the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, and they will be selecting a quarterback. I know Commanders fans told me, nah, man, Ray, we need to go offensive line. Sam Howell's okay. He is not okay. And they completely burnt him out. Said this around week 9. They are wearing his arm out, and he's not going to survive the season if they keep having him throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. And it just went downhill from there for Sam Howell. B-Rob didn't get a lot of opportunity, but he's probably going to be their hammer bell cow next year. Antonio Gibson on a new squad. In this receiver room, I mean, with Sam Howell at quarterback, you really didn't feel good starting any of these guys. McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, none of them. Jahan Dotson, what a hit the sounder. Lord
have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Bust City from the former number one, first round pick for the Commanders. 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, nothing but ADV. Trade. Jahan Dotson. Brandon Aiyuk, absolute stud. Brandon Aiyuk, 13-17 through the air, 72 receptions, 7 touchdowns. It happened. He's one of the highest Trinity wide receivers in the database. I think he's like wide receiver 3. Trinity scored, and he delivered for us in the championships. Debo balled out, scored a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey a little banged up. Elijah Mitchell, 17 for 80 and 1 touchdown. You just look at McCaffrey and think, damn, that could have been CMC in the championships. I'm not going to say CMC busted for us, but man, we wanted a lot more. But he got injured, and San Francisco locked up that number 1 seed, so it is what it is. And then Brock Purdy goes out there and is 22 for 28, 230, 2 touchdowns, 4,200 passing yards on the season, number 2 in the NFL, 31 passing touchdowns, 2nd in the NFL, to only 11 interceptions, number 1 in QBR. Brock Purdy, you know what? This might be my biggest fantasy hit because I told you he was going to be the starter. Told you. He started. Not only did he start, I said if he starts all season, he's healthy, he finishes the year as a top 12 Dynasty quarterback, top 12 scorer for the quarterback position. Did we hit that? Yes, we did. Give me another bomb drop. And is Brock Purdy one of the more underrated quarterbacks in Dynasty? Hell yeah, drop another bomb. Go get you some Brock Purdy. Kyle Shanahan's found his guy. Yes, he threw 4 interceptions. I don't give a shit. I don't care. It happens in the NFL. Brock Purdy is that dude. Is there anybody else to talk about from San Francisco? I don't think so. moving forward, Christian McCaffrey is my RB1 going into 2024, leaving it that way. We actually have one more game, the Sunday night game, and this is a good one. Well, we had a couple of games. I said it's the last one. We got like 3 more games to get to. So let's pull up the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's pull it up. And the Jake Browning experience rolls on another week, but I definitely think that it's over for him after the season is done. Cincinnati 8-8 on the year. Kansas City got a win to go to 10-6. Had to come back in this one. It looked like the Bengals were going to beat them for a large part of this game. Mahomes, I mean, you heard me earlier. Patrick Mahomes finished with less points than Bailey Zappi on the week. I mean, it just hasn't been a good season for Patrick Mahomes, overall. You look at his numbers, 7th in touchdown passes, 5th in yards. His season has been great. But this is what happens when you're the Michael Jordan of your sport, right? The bar and the threshold is so high. But those days where we see Mahomes throwing multi-touchdown passes, like, let's just look. 2 touchdown passes one time over the last 5 games. Twice. That's it. And this was like child's play for Mahomes last year before. 2-3 touchdowns. Easy money. When the book started putting his line at 1.5, juice to the under, I just didn't believe it. And it rarely happened this season. And I think a big part of that was what we are starting to see, in my opinion, the decline of Travis Kelce. Now, we say all of that, and you look at this and you say, how on earth would anybody even insinuate there's a decline when Kelce's got 93 receptions, 984 yards, and 5 touchdowns? But if you watch the game, you can tell that at 34 years old, he's not going to be able to play like he did at 28, 29, 30 years old. Like, Father Time is undefeated. And I just truly wonder, have we started to see the beginning of the end to Travis Kelce? If Jason Kelce is true to his word, like he said, I'm done after this year. Kelce can retire as well. They'd be the first brothers to probably go into the Hall of Fame and give each other's induction speeches together. That's big business, big money. He's got billion-dollar booty at the home. It's going to be interesting to see what Kansas City looks like moving forward. Without Travis Kelce, if he's not there, if he's slowed down, if he's diminished. And I'm going to say this, Noah Gray, his activity in that offense has picked up over the last month. So make sure Noah Gray is not on waivers. No thank you, Richie James, MVS, Justin Watson. But Rashee Rice, Trinity fine, talked about him all year, top 20 in receptions, going to finish the season with over 1,000 yards. This is the rookie wide receiver. The only rookie wide receivers I want ahead of Rashee Rice going into 2024, Puka Nacua and maybe Jordan Addison. I did rank Jordan Addison 1 spot ahead of Rashee Rice on the rookie recap report. But man, that was during this game. I may prefer Rashee Rice over Jordan Addison. Absolute stud. Isaiah Pacheco, stud. Hopefully you were able to grab him last year off of waivers. Plays a little too reckless, man. I wish he would take care of his body a little bit more, but a talented running back. The other side of the ball, we know what Jamar Chase is. Not going to talk about that. T. Higgins banged up again, comes back in. This is one, folks, where everybody views T. Higgins as a top 5, top 10 dynasty wide receiver. He's a lot of name, and the game just doesn't match up. He's had 1 year where he finished as a top 12 fantasy producer. Other than that, it's a lot of T. Higgins' name, not a lot of game from T. Higgins. He's somebody that I would trade in a heartbeat for one of the aforementioned players that we talked about. Rashee Rice, can I move T. Higgins for Rashee Rice plus? I'm doing that 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100 times. No freaking doubt about it. Jamar Chase, see if you can buy him on the cheap. And then Joe Mixon will be a veteran value next year. Talked about Chase Brown on the rookie recap. Go check that out if you want to hear a little bit more about Chase Brown. And then finally, this game, which I'm not going to talk a lot about, the Denver Broncos, Los Angeles Chargers. Eckler, no thank you. Javonte Williams stunk it up. I don't believe in Jared Stidham long-term, but who knows? Sean Payton believes in him, then I'll be in. Easton Stick, we know he's going away once Herbert is back. QJ, talked about him on the rookie recap. Not all the way out on Quentin Johnston. Not all the way out. Go listen to that episode for more. And then the pass catchers for the Denver Broncos. We know Cortland Sutton didn't play, was out with an injury. Jerry Jeudy, even in this role, still underperformed for us, but people love him. That's about it from the Denver side. And then we do get to the final game. Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, another hit from old GQ. I told you. I did not think that Jordan Love was going to be nearly as bad as the fantasy community wanted to make this thing seem. Third in the NFL in touchdowns, only 11 interceptions, and 10th in passing yards with 38-43. Going to finish the season with over 4,000 yards, a QBR, 10th in the NFL. Jordan Love can play. I told you, he can play.
Lord have
Is
mercy,
he
I'm about
great?
to
Is he
bust.
Aaron Rodgers? I don't know about that. He ain't bust. He can freaking play. Jordan Love can get it done, and I'm excited to watch him and his young group of wide receivers progress moving forward. Jaden Reed, talked about him on the rookie recap. Did not see any Dontavian Wicks in this one, but Aaron Jones came back and gave us 120 yards in fantasy championship week. Tucker Kraft, top 25 running back, top 25 tight end for me moving forward. And I almost picked up Bo freaking Melton. I was so close to picking up Bo Melton and didn't do it. And Bo Melton went out there and had freaking 105 yards and a touchdown. Jets, listen, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say collectively, Jordan Addison, Ty Chandler, and Justin Jefferson hit the sounder.
Lord have mercy,
Lord
I'm about
have
to
mercy.
bust.
They busted for us. They busted for us in the fantasy championships. Jets is a beast. He missed most of the season, which takes his production down. But we ain't talking about Justin Jefferson. Addison got hurt again. Ty Chandler kind of busted it up for us. Nick Mullins came in and did a little something. So there it is. There's the Week 17 Fantasy Football Wake Up Abridged recap with your boy GQ. Again, I appreciate each and every ear, each and every view, each and every comment, each and every like, each and every engagement that you guys and I have shared throughout the 2023 season. And I promise you, moving forward, I'm giving you what you want. Me. Rookies, fantasy talk, film. We're back to what this thing is about. I'm excited for 2024. Go to destinationdevy.com. Use the tools, the Trinity tracker, the War tool, and then join the Patreon. Patreon.com/allgas. Starting to give back a lot to the community. It is time. 2024 is our year. If you won some of that, stopping throughout the offseason. I'll see y'all bright and early next Monday morning for a live edition of the Wake Up Show. We got more content dropping on both the podcast and the YouTube feeds. I appreciate everybody. Enjoy your New Year holiday. I'm out. Peace.